You've got Kick-Ass 2,
Yes,
so tell us about that.
It's very exciting. I mean, I've known about this obviously for a long time because really, Kick-Ass 1 was really, really cheap to make. Like, people don't realise sometimes, I think, they think it's like Iron Man or something, you know, but we did it on a micro budget. It was done for like $28 million, and it made $100 million theatrically, and then 140 million on DVD. So on a 28 million investment, 240 coming back means there's going to be a sequel. And it ended with a cliffhanger. We wanted to do a sequel, and we wanted it to make a lot more than it did. You know, I mean, it made $100 million, which is great on a small budget, but we really feel the movie was awesome, you know, and we thought it was going to do 200, 300, 400 million, you know. But what it is it's that year it was the second most illegally downloaded movie. And it's the #7 most illegally downloaded movie of all time. So it's built this kind of base between DVD and pirates that we actually think it's going to be like Austin Powers, that the second one is just going to explode in cinemas. It's going to be crazy. Because Hit Girl's like an icon now and things, you know. I was out at Halloween last year and I saw two people, like different people dressed as Hit Girl, like walking around going in pubs and things. And you just think, if it's seeped into that level of public consciousness, you know, there's really something there. So I think Kick-Ass 2 is very exciting. We've known we were doing it for ages. Jeff got handpicked a year and a half ago. Matthew has long admired Jeff, and like they started the screenplay maybe 8 months ago, and the final screenplay was done maybe 2 months back. So everybody's really happy. And the thing is, in interviews, people always say what's going on with Kick-Ass 2, and I'm like, yeah, the guy's on the screenplay now. And everybody else is more coy about it, but I always just come out and say what's actually happening, you know. And then nothing happens for months. But obviously, to have the finished screenplay now that Universal's approved and everything, and they did 2 months ago, we knew we were doing that. It's obviously been in the works for a long time. You know, these things don't pop out of nowhere, you know.
So how closely have you been working with Jeff on that?
Well, Jeff's, you know, I did the comic, passed down all the scripts to Jeff, and Jeff took as much as he wanted, same as Matthew did in the first one, you know. And like, you know, Jeff's kept, I'd say, maybe about 80% of the comic or something, you know, which is great. You know, how much of that ends up in the final movie, how much gets rewritten back in, you never know. But at the moment, it's pretty much a clear adaptation of the book, which is great. You know, I mean, I was happy with the book, so I'm happy they've kept all this stuff. And like Matthew and Jane, I think he's added little flourishes that actually make it even better. Like, I'm very happy with the Kick-Ass comic, but I actually prefer the movie. I think they did such a great job on it, and I like the feeling that Kick-Ass 2 is going to be the same. I think the movie will probably be better.
Who are we talking about returning in terms of cast then for Kick-Ass 2?
I think right now we're not allowed to say because it's just you know, technically agents haven't signed off on certain things or whatever. But basically, you know, we want the proper cast. You know, I mean, it'd be weird to do it without Chloe and Aaron and Chris. You know, but there's 2 other roles in this movie that could bring in other name actors. Like, well, we obviously don't have Nicolas Cage because he died in the first one, but there's a character called the Colonel in this movie who's a kind of older guy who starts a kind of Neighbourhood Watch kind of thing. You know, which is a bunch of people dressed up as superheroes patrolling part of New York, which is actually happening in real life just now. You know, I think New York's got about 150 different people doing this, you know. So and there's maybe another role as well. This character called Night Bitch, which sounds horrible, but there's this character Night Bitch that there's a possible kind of name role in there too. So, you know, over the next kind of couple of weeks we'll get all that nailed down because we're filming really soon. Yeah.
What does it feel like when you see those people walking around at Halloween, for example,
Oh,
in the costume for the characters you've written?
Yeah, it's actually amazing. Like, I mean, as a kid, you know, I grew up with Spider-Man, Thor, Hulk and all that kind of thing, you know, and you know, you almost can't think that at one time they just existed in someone's head because now they're such global icons. So it is kind of odd. I don't think of myself in the same bracket as someone like Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, you know, who made those characters up. But you forget in 1959 those characters didn't exist, those Marvel characters, and now they're suddenly everywhere. So it's quite exciting seeing these comics that I'm doing just now, one by one, all becoming films and becoming their own little, kind of probably what the Marvel Universe was in the early 60s, you know, just very quickly catching fire, like, and suddenly becoming movies. It's the most exciting thing in the world. I mean, for me, I'd say even more exciting was probably sitting in my house and seeing a bus go by the window and seeing the Kick-Ass ad on the side of a bus, and it was the same bus that goes by my house all the time, and it was really odd. Or the football stadium in my hometown has a big billboard beside it, and to see the Wanted poster there a couple of years back and then the Kick-Ass one after was just so exciting. It's less exciting seeing it in Los Angeles or something because you don't have the same point of reference, but to see it in your own hometown is actually a real buzz. It's great.
So can we expect maybe a Kick-Ass 3 after this film as well?
Well, for anyone who's read the book, Kick-Ass 2 ends on a cliffhanger, and I purposely did that to get Kick-Ass 3, you know. But I mean, this is basically the Star Wars trilogy, you know. Like Kick-Ass 1 set everyone up, you know. That was the farm boy in Tatooine kind of becoming a hero, you know. Kick-Ass 2 is where it goes dark, and it's like Matthews, like George Lucas bringing in Irving Kershner, he's brought in Jeff Wadlow, you know, and this is the dark one, you know, and things would get really bad for all the heroes, and it ends with our equivalent of Han Solo frozen in carbonite, you know, there is a kind of cliffhanger ending, and then the third one is when everything goes nice again, you know, and by that point Kick-Ass is quite a different character from who he was from the first one, the way Luke Skywalker was. He's been on this kind of journey, so it's always planned as 3 movies, 3 books and 3 movies.